Thank you all so much for joining me for episode 99 of the Gut Wrench podcast. My name is Mocha. And I will be your traumatized host for this evening. As your titular traumatized host, like I am every evening. Now, I do realize that this episode is a day late. However, you have to take into account the fact that I was supposed to have today off work rather, and ran into some complications simply from the fact that the guy that I work for asked if I could come in at 8 o'clock in the morning. So that sort of set me back a night, because what I'd planned on doing was watching the rest of this episode that we will be reviewing tonight. I planned on watching it last night. However, I couldn't do that. Couldn't watch the remainder of what I had planned on watching, simply because, I had to wake up early. So if I had, and I did, like 90 minutes left of the event that I was going to watch and review, and I was going to watch it and then review it yesterday, the 30th, I think, of September. But then I ended up just, oh no, I gotta wake up in the morning, so I better be, somewhat responsible and just forego the whole, I should watch this and review it. Stay up 90 minutes later and cut my sleep schedule a little bit more. My name is Mocha. This is the Gut Wrench podcast, episode number 99. Emphasis on the 99, because this is a once in a lifetime event. Never again and never before will I be at episode 99. Next week is episode 100. And ladies and gentlemen, the 2-year anniversary is 48 hours less than 48 hours away. The 2-year anniversary. And thank you all so much for joining me, if you've stuck with me for this long. And I don't mean this long as in as long as I've been, yammering on about shit that doesn't exist, or that doesn't really matter. This week, someone died, unfortunately, in the family that I that I partake in, that I live with, and for that matter that I've continued to live with for the last few years, since I've been 11 years old, believe it or not. And also last week I had a gun pointed at my head. That happened around the third half of last week's episode number 98. So, I'm a little bit discombobulated. Shout out to Big Wills over there. NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 3. Mauro says, if you don't already know, now you know, is one of the opening lines that he uses whenever this, for whatever reason, airs. Now, the reason that I wrote that down is because it has significance to it. There was a tag team of, a trio rather, not even a tag team, a trio of 3 women. They were collectively known as the Beautiful People. No relation to the Marilyn Manson song in subsequent years. Anyway, the Beautiful People were known as Angelina Love, Madison Rayne, and Velvet Sky. And Velvet Sky herself used to say, if you don't already know, now you know. So I'm not sure why he's, ripping off Velvet Sky's. Okay. Cardi B must be playing in the background. But anyway, I'm not sure why he's ripping off Velvet Sky's shtick that she had going at the time. I mean, she didn't slap it on a t-shirt or anything, so, good for him that, good for her that she didn't sue Mauro Ronaldo for saying something like that. Whenever that used to be her catchphrase. I think it was her second run in Impact Wrestling. It could have been like her third run, because she had been fired from the company before, I do believe. I could be wrong about that. Following the breakup of his tag team and Tommaso Ciampa, collectively they were known as DIY, because this is what they used to say too. It was pretty funny, at least I thought that it was, because no one's going to do it for you, so you might as well do it, do it yourself. You're better off doing it yourself, is what former NXT champion Johnny Gargano and former NXT champion Tommaso Ciampa were once known as. This entire event, and if you want to listen to this canonically, okay, so this, you can consider it sort of a part 2 to a previous episode, and that previous episode was Make It Personal. If most of you will remember that there's an episode entitled, is what I should say, Make It Personal, on this podcast, or this group of podcasts that we've been doing, that is now 98 more episodes, rather 99 more episodes, counting this one, strong. So if you go down and you look for one called Make It Personal, and you want more insight about this particular match that I'm about to start talking about, then you would get more insight as to where it was as far as the mindset, and for that matter the timeline that Johnny Gargano was going through at this time. Back to the episode, Make It Personal. That's literally the title of the episode. Also, in that episode, we took a deep dive through the tumultuous relationship between former tag team partners and former tag team champions at the time, Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa. They were literally the best of friends, been best friends for 14 years. And that's what that episode is about. It just takes a deep dive tour into the, almost like into the mind of Johnny Gargano, because he had one question at the time: why? And that question certainly got answered. Tommaso Ciampa, of course, being the heelish, devilish character that he was, he played it to a T. He played it really well. Practically just allowing Johnny, and for that matter, I'm surprised that they never did any sort of, like he didn't make it further personal by having, like, someone kidnap Candice LeRae and stuff her in the back of a trunk or something like that. Just have fun with it a little bit. But I guess, he's not that much of a bad guy that he would, hit her with like a crutch or a steel chair, or for that matter, kidnap her. Something, If you wanted to make it personal, get his wife involved. Anyway, I did a deep dive on Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa, how the two of them became the best of friends for so long, and how the relationship was practically ruined. If you want to see, or for that matter, I should say hear, the relationship between Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa, deep dive a little bit more, then you can always refer to that episode, because I think that I did a pretty good job as far as navigating the relationship that they had at the time, and that Chicago street fight was really good. However, with all that aside, Johnny Gargano wanted to move on, as Mauro Ranallo put it, and upon moving on, after having the Chicago street fight, Johnny Wrestling versus Andrade Almas with Zelina Vega. So, here's something that I didn't know. Almas is a third generation luchador. A stalemate early on as Johnny gets a 1 count, and the crowd starts to chant Johnny Wrestling early on. Only gets a 1 count from the crucifix pin. And now taking a small control is Johnny. Tim Woods and Johnny Walker as Mr. Wrestling and Mr. Wrestling 2 collectively. Now today it's Johnny Wrestling. So, but that was back in like 1960s maybe. I think Mauro Ranallo says it was in 69. Nice chops in the corner by Johnny, and Almas was a Christmas tree on the side of the street. I should have said the 4th of July, but it doesn't matter. Why would you be lighting a Christmas tree, on the 4th of July? But at the same time, why would you be lighting a Christmas tree on the side of the street? You must be some sort of, and I don't mean to make fun of homeless people here, but you must be some sort of homeless. Almas with a chop to Johnny in the corner. Almas gets a 1 count. Double down from both men. Who hit each other with a clothesline. Johnny begins a rally and gets momentum from the Irish whip and the crowd. Slingshot spear by Johnny Wrestling. Only gets a near fall. He only gets a 2 count. Super kick by Almas, then a dive to the outside. It says of Almas, but it should say by Almas if it was done by him. Okay, a slingshot DDT by Johnny Gargano onto Almas. Only a 2 count, and Mauro says it's shades of RVD, but I don't recall RVD ever using a slingshot DDT in RVD's regular move repertoire, but maybe I'm wrong. It has happened, but it doesn't happen too often. Avalanche Tornado reverse DDT only gets a 2 count by Johnny Wrestling. More chops in the corner of the top rope as more chops in the corner of the top rope from Johnny as Almas looks for a superplex. Almas hits a Judas Effect like move on Gargano, knocking him into the corner. Johnny with a Enzuigiri, and then gets knocked down with a hip toss. Johnny had the Johnny escape. Sorry about that. Johnny had the Gargano escape, but Almas was able to get out of it. And he hit a sloppy looking buckle bomb. That's what I seen. Almas hit Gargano with a double knees in the corner. What Heart by Johnny Gargano, kicking out at 2. Thought it was 3. It was dangerously close. Gargano with a lawn dart in the corner to Almas, which is one of his regular moves. He'll always put you up for that lawn dart, and then he'll lawn dart your face into the corner. Johnny with a charge up super kick in the corner. perhaps shades of HBK, because let's face it, if you don't already know this, Johnny Gargano and I do believe Brian Danielson were both in the same class together. But they were both trained by, they both went to the school, the Heartbreak Training Academy, I think it's called. Could be wrong, but it's the school of Shawn Michaels. Perhaps shades of HBK. Instead, Vega hits Gargano with a t-shirt that I didn't even see her come out with, nor do I remember her having on her off in the... Oh, okay. Hits Johnny with a t-shirt from the distraction. It looked very sudden, like the shirt did critical damage for Andrade to get the win off of his finishing maneuver called the Hammerlock DDT, if I remember correctly. And I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. I would have given this a higher rating. I would have at least liked to given it a 4 out of 5, but the ending was so sudden. There was no build to the relief, as it was sudden before the match starts. Usually a highlight package plays. Oh, okay, there was no highlights package before this match started, so also I took off points for that because of the fact that there was no like story being really driven here. You know, it seemed like, hey, shit, we need an opening match. Gargano and, you know, the Almas. Just go out there and do something. You know, like, we're not going to play an opening hype package for you guys. But all throughout the night, aside from this one particular instance, there were opening hype packages played, and there were different perspectives told, such as that of the heel, the titular heels, and that of the baby faces. So other than this one match, you'll start to see more of a story be put together to catch up viewers as to how we got to this point in the story. Why were they having this wrestling match in the first place? There seemed to be a lack of story. It was a good match nonetheless. But due to those reasons, I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. NXT Tag Team Championships are on the line, as we're led to believe that Sanity has Alexander Wolf and Killian Dane, accompanied by EY Eric Young and Nikki Cross, before she was Nikki ASH. You know, almost the superhero. Because WWE went PG at the time, and I guess they just thought that it was funny to make Nikki Cross, who was a psychopath before she was, I'm going to put this in air quotes, almost a superhero. But then after she was almost a superhero, we're supposed to forget about the fact that she used to run around with a gang of hoodlums called Sanity, and practically, how do I say, cause trouble. You know, almost like the Riot Squad or the Degeneration X, you know, but never to the effect of Degeneration X, because, I mean, Eric Young, I feel like, could play a psychopath in a movie, a book series, fucking a TV show. I mean, this man's so charismatic. Eric Young, he could possibly, he should play one of the psychopaths that one guy oh man, what's the name of that show? The Blacklist. It comes on NBC, and I'm not trying to plug NBC's regular programming or anything like that, because I'm already talking about wrestling, which once again, if you don't know, it's a contract with NBC. And for those of you who don't know, NBC stands for National Broadcast Channel. The more you know. Anyway, I don't know. He's just so charismatic, Eric Young. But we're led to believe that Killian Dane and Alexander Wolf will be playing the part of the titular tag team that we're supposed to see. And they go as far as to even put Killian Dane on the turnbuckle as Alexander Wolf's partner. But he never gets the tag in. Around 3/4 of the match goes by before Eric Young, apparently the titular, he's like the leader, if you will, of Sanity. He goes ahead and he gives them the call that apparently Killian Dane's not in the match. Eric Young is, the world-class maniac. As I stated before, you can find a recap of what happened in Chicago's next episode, Make It Personal, the name of the podcast, or the episode rather. But if we're going to listen to that, if you're not going to listen to that of this podcast, then I will inform you all of a synopsis, not the entire thing. To inform you the entire backstory, is it too long? Next contest 1 month ago. After just being dominated by the former tag team champions of DIY, collectively known as DIY, Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa, as I stated earlier. Now the next person to stand in the way of AOP, other than DIY, once DIY went down, was Sanity. A group collectively known to have 4 people in it. 1, Miss Nikki Cross. 2, Alexander Wolf. 3, EY, Eric Young. And the 4th, Killian Dane, who would later become the husband to Nikki Cross. The story isn't very strong here either, but it made Sanity look strong. I just think Eric Young, okay, so here's where I put my foot in my mouth. I just think that Eric Young not being in the match is a huge mistake. So, as soon as I get done writing this, and then I get done almost like halfway through the match, Eric Young himself calls an audible. So I had to put this, update. AOP stormed the ring after the bell had already rang. Keep in mind that the bell already rang. Mauro on commentary says that the action's breaking down before the opening bell. You dumb son of a bitch. I just heard the bell ring. I'm wearing headphones and I can hear it ring. And he's wearing a commentator's... Just forget it. He's wearing like a headset of some sort, but I know damn well that he can hear the bell ring. Before the opening bell, nonetheless, so I know when the bell is rang. Fucker, I heard it ring. You don't need to ring it again. Eric Young sets up a table, and Mauro says that the match, quote, hasn't begun yet. Even though the bell rung, the contest should begin, but it hasn't, because no one's got to their respective corners, and the referee hasn't officially started the match. But the timekeeper somehow fucking rings the fucking bell. Wolf being used as a human punching bag, as Razor misses a shoulder tackle in the corner, giving Wolf a chance to make the tag. Dane looks like a 360-pound beast of a man. At the last minute, Eric Young gets on the apron of the ring and gets the tag into the match. According to commentary, which I'm assuming that they just said this so that they could save face. But according to commentary, this is completely legal because the tag team partner used was never tagged in, so substitutes can be called on the fly. Keep in mind that Alexander Wolf was in the match before he ever tagged anyone in. So Wolf was able to, in a sense of the word, choose between Killian Dain or Eric Young. And if you want to go power, you could go Killian Dain, but if you want to go experience, and if you want to go speed, you could go Eric Young. Did I say Eric Young twice? Okay. Killian Dain, power. Don't know what else he has, but that'd be about it. I mean, he's practically 350 pounds. And Eric Young, experience and speed is what I would say. Eric Young might have some power, but he cannot match that of Killian Dain. And Alexander Wolf, I'd not heard anything about him since, and I haven't heard anything about him, from this point on. Nonetheless, they say that he can call substitutes, so I'm not calling bullshit. Young is Young with a great basement drop kick to the outside of the ring onto Razor. This is not being advertised as no countouts match. Despite that, the ref forgets to count to 10 when Young is on the outside, even though he's the legal man in the match. Mauro calls Akam both men. The tag team AOP is Razor and Akam. On the outside fighting, Eric Young, and at the same time in the ring fighting Alexander Wolf. So if there's two men and they're representing one team, the person representing the one team cannot be the same person twice. So here's what happens. Eric Young's on the outside fighting someone, and then Mauro Ronaldo, in his infinite wisdom, says Akam on the outside fighting Eric Young. And then as soon as the camera pans over and it sees the person in the ring, which if that was Akam, then this must obviously be Razor, the other individual, a part of the tag team collectively known as the Authors of Pain, AOP, because it takes 2 people to make a tag team, 3 people to make a trio, 4 to make a stable, and 5 to make a group of, I mean, quintet would be 6, I would assume, or something. Anyway, that had been the case. Once he got so far, once the camera man got to the ring, as you just got done hearing, he called Akam twice. Despite, Akam can't be 2 people. He can't be both in the ring and fighting. I don't know why I'm overtly explaining this. And fighting outside the ring as well. Young gets the shoulder up, next double team exchange. To the next double team exchange. It doesn't make any sense. EY skins the cat off the apron of the ring, only to be caught and get caught in a spine buster back into the ring. I didn't put down who gave him the spine buster, but honestly, I can't tell the difference. Call me racist, but I can't tell the difference. The 2 Samoan men have the same practically the same tattoos, the same fucking haircut. They wear the same gear. It's like trying to tell the difference between the Usos. You're not going to be able to tell one from the other unless one of them's wearing a sleeve, a glove, one of them's got their shirt off, Wolf off the hot tag, cleaning house and making AOP look like spaghetti with a Book's exploding suplex by Wolf and a German on both men of AOP. Wolf is clearly the ring and fixing wagons. Okay, yeah, I was just making a few puns there. He's gonna fix their wagons, clean their clocks, you know, stuff like that. Akam throws EY outside and starts to isolate Alexander Wolf. A double powerbomb of sorts only gets them a 2 count, as EY, counting his chickens before they hatch on the outside, is counting chickens on the, oh, okay, because he got bopped. Nice neck breaker by EY, Eric Young, but he gets crushed on the top. Oh, yeah, I don't like it when that happens. When climbing to go to the high risk. And Nikki Cross with the save, because whenever they go for the power bomb, they're trying to power bomb. So he's trying to power bomb his own tag team partner, because his own tag team partner, the AOP, is right. So let's say it's Razor. Razor is trying to powerbomb his own tag team partner because his own tag team partner has one of the opponents, and he's trying to do a powerbomb from the top rope, what they call a Liger bomb. He's trying to do it to the opponent, because once he does it to his tag team partner, his opponent has a hold, or his tag team partner has a hold of his opponent, and he's going to Liger bomb his own tag team partner, in the process also sort of doing a superplex to the legal man in Alexander Wolf. It sounds really good. But anyway, Nikki Cross with the save, because she ties her hands around the leverage that is their legs. So the only person that they end up doing the power bomb, Liger bomb to, is each other. I don't know, it's sick whenever you look at it. With the turnbuckle, caught Akam and Killian Dane, put Akam through a table. Yeah, so Nikki Cross off the turnbuckle gets caught by Akam, and then after, so Cross goes up top, and whenever she does, she gets caught by Akam, according to commentary, and then Killian Dane comes by, and he does sort of a drive-by, and as I stated before, he's like 360, 375 pounds. He does a drive-by splash, and he probably, you know, sandwiched poor Nikki Cross between Akam, according to commentary, and Killian Dane. I'm going to hope that, you know, Nikki Cross was okay on this night. Holy shit chants by NXT. Oh, also, they put Akam through a table. Like whenever Killian Dane did his running splash. Holy shit chants and NXT chants beginning to stir. Alexander Wolf and Eric Young pick up the win off the double team elbow drop off the middle rope, off the top rope rather, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. It was a beautiful contest, and I really enjoyed watching it. Left my jaw on the floor and absolutely left me wanting more. So, had that been the case though, that means that for 2 weeks I've given WWE 5 out of 5 star matches. Except this time it wasn't on their main event, and it wasn't on a show called Main Event. Despite that show being, from what I'm told, absolute garbage. But all their subsequent shows that I reviewed last week, you know, the Main Event show, I mean, it got relatively good reviews from me. I don't really think that it's so much that it's trash. It just needs to be maybe properly managed. All right. Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly come out to attack both teams. A team collectively known as the Red Dragons. Yes. So I don't know if it's a reference to something, but for those of you not aware, if you don't already know, Red Dragons is collectively Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish. But you see, over the past few years, I've come to know something of every time that I hear the word Red Dragon, someone's always talking about something different. There's always, okay, so Red Dragon could be a reference to a book by the same name, Red Dragon. But see, why would they be talking about Dr. Lecter? That's apparently the prequel to the book that was written in a series of books, and it's apparently the first book. Oh man, it's got something to do with like Silence of the Lambs, which apparently is the second book. Silence of the Lambs, of course, you might be familiar with if you're a movie buff, which I watched it too. I thought it was a pretty good movie. I was about to say it's got Kate Hudson in it, but no, it doesn't. I don't think that it does. I'm an idiot. Anyway, I thought it was a pretty good movie. But apparently, before you watch Silence of the Lambs, you gotta watch the movie by the same name, Red Dragon. Or they could be talking about the fact that Daniel Bryan was Bryan Danielson in Ring of Honor. He was collectively known as the American Dragon. Not really the Red Dragon, but you get where I'm coming from, right? There's also a roller coaster. Apparently, I don't know if it's still in production or whatever, but I do know that it used to be, and it was known as the Red Dragon, or Chasing the Dragon, or something of that nature. And if you look into Chinese mythology, the Red Dragon has some sort of significance to it as well. So if you want to look at it that way, then you could possibly do that. I think that it's like good fortune or something of that nature. I could be wrong. But if you're not thinking too deep on it, then I don't blame you. Just a wrestling podcast, you know. It's not really supposed to be that deep. But at the same time, you could always take things to the next level, so to speak. Special guest commentary from JR. The crowd pops loudly, and they absolutely go nuts, as Hideo Itami versus Aleister Black. Straight off the bat, I want to let it be known that they say that Hideo Itami only weighs at 180 pounds, and that doesn't seem like a very fair fight if it was expecting exceptionally powerful and really fast. Take into account, if you want to look very strong, maybe you should put him up against someone. Okay, so his opponent is not 180 pounds, but Hideo Itami is apparently, according to the announcer who announced his entrance, 180 pounds. However, due to my lack of, I guess you could say, my lack of wherewithal to really drill home the fact that I was trying to prove a point, I'd forgotten to look up how much Aleister Black weighs. And for those of you wondering why that might be relevant, it's because Hideo Itami facing off against Aleister Black is not a very fair matchup. Simply for the fact that Itami may be 2 feet shorter than him and may or may not give up 70, maybe 60 pounds. So if you wanted to make this look like a very fair fight, and for that matter, if you wanted to, like, you know, make Itami look strong, even in defeat, because he does lose, spoiler, you would want to put him up against someone more his size. Or if you wanted to make Aleister Black look, you know, really strong, and yes, I did say his name again, despite me saying that I wouldn't say it unless I absolutely had to. If you wanted to make Black look really strong, what you could do is maybe put him up against someone who's a little bit taller, a little bit, you know, bulkier, maybe. Or for that matter, not make this a one-on-one match and make it more about speed and less about, you know, just, oh, okay, who's going to get the pin first? Who's going to be able to win the match the quickest, the fastest, you know, rather than just a one-on-one competition between two men who one outclasses the other because he may or may not be a little bit taller and he may or may not be a little bit stronger. So I'm having a hard time understanding their, you know, how they go about picking contenders for certain contests. And on top of that, this one, once again, it really lacked any sort of story. You know, it was just like, hey, go out there and put on a show. We really don't have much of a story to tell. Nonetheless, I'm going to assume that Aleister Black is around 230 pounds and just as fast, if not faster, than Hideo Itami. The top of the match ended in a stalemate until Black gets the advantage by pushing Itami outside and then doing a fake. He almost like fakes him out. He does like a he runs really fast up to the rope, and then once he gets to the second rope, he does like a back flip. While Itami's on the outside of the ring, he does like a back flip, and then afterwards he sits down. After he lands the back flip, sits down Indian style, and then almost like taunts Hideo Itami, telling him, hey, you know, relax. I'm not going to jump over this top rope. Beautiful striking combo by Black. Only gets near fall the offensive striking maneuvers. Something that I'm just noticing, Black never gets entrance thanks to the band named, quote, Orange. Oh, it's Code Orange. I missed that before. I had to go back and watch it again. This means that the ring announcers do not do their job as far as Aleister Black goes. And once he gets into the ring, too, they don't like, hey, get to your corner, like they would do later with Ember Moon and Asuka. A top rope knee drop from Itami to Black, keeping him grounded. Itami hits Black with the kitchen sink, and no, I'm not talking about, you know, everything but the kitchen sink. It's literally a wrestling move. It's called the kitchen sink, and it's wherever you stick your knee out while someone's trying to run at you. You hit them in the gut. It's extremely painful. Anyway, Itami has Black keeping him on the ground, just trying to wear Black down. the crowd getting behind Black, mocking Black's signature pose in front of him as Hideo Itami does the, as I stated before, the Indian. You know how whenever you were in school they would tell you to sit Indian style? Itami does that right in front of Aleister Black, and he tells him, "Come on," and then he tells him, "You will respect me." And how can you say that you're, like, you don't look at someone and say, "You will respect me," unless you plan on giving them respect back. A DDT by Itami only gets a 2 count from the pin attempt. Black with a fury of kicking offensive moves, which includes a leg sweep from an Irish whip, a kick to the body, and a moonsault. Looks sort of like a supercharged Pele kick from the second rope. Thanks, asshole. Itami gets a 2 count from the tornado DDT head snap from the top rope, only to keep Black grounded once again. Keep the big man on the ground. A fisherman suplex, only to get a 2 count on Black. Black out of the corner, gets a surprise victory roll, but it only gets a 2 count. And then Itami sets up to get clocked in the temple, and he goes like just falls over. Like London Bridge was falling down. Mauro calls now here's something that I found to be extremely funny. Oh man, and I mean I was reveling in the fact that Mauro accidentally did something that I absolutely called him out on it. Mauro calls a Michinoku driver, I seen a Falcon Arrow. So we have a difference of opinions here. You know, I see a Falcon Arrow, he sees a Michinoku driver. But if it was a Michinoku driver, then he would have fallen the other way and he would have been on Itami's shoulders. But instead, he fell the opposite direction, and instead of being on his shoulders, he threw him off of his shoulders. But anyway, here's where it gets interesting. Mario calls the Michinoku driver. I seen a Falcon Arrow. I guess we'll have to have a disagreement on this one. Those of you wondering who's right, go back, and then I was going to sort of challenge my listeners to go back and maybe watch it and see what they seen, or at least watch highlights of it to let me know if I'm right or if Mauro Ronaldo was right. But a few moments later, before I could get any further from the end of the match, and Nigel McGuinness would correct Mauro Ronaldo and let him know that, quote, "I think I see a Falcon Arrow," and then I put the scoreboard up, of course, just to mock the fact that they're supposed to be, quote, professionals, but they missed out because they can't tell the difference between a Michinoku driver and a Falcon Arrow, except for my good boy, Nigel McGuinness. And then I put up a scoreboard here, like I was saying though. That's 1 Mocha, 0 Mauro. Get another Falcon Arrow. This time, both of us called it as we seen it at the same time practically. And Tommy gets a near fall yet again. 3.5 out of 5 stars. Itami gets caught with a black mass spinning heel kick, and the first time Itami gets hit on his gets put on his back, he practically loses the match, which is kind of stupid considering the later match that we'll see with Bobby Roode and Drew McIntyre. And also the next match, which happens to have Asuka facing off against Ember Moon for the NXT Women's Championship. Nonetheless, what I mean to say is that I deducted a few points just because it was almost like, hey, get out there and get the match done. And whenever they do, just get out there and get the match done. Like, there's no making Itami look strong, despite the fact that, he makes Aleister Black look strong, but he doesn't have anyone to make him look strong. And if you're going to make Aleister Black look strong, then why don't you do that by putting him up against someone more his size and more his speed? Itami is a wonderful, wonderful athlete, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, I feel as though that Hideo Itami, if this was a ladder match, would have had the upper hand. However, where it's just a one-on-one singles match, and they're looking to build a story around Aleister Black, maybe, next time, try to make it more than just a one and done, one-shot kill, because the first time that Hideo Itami gets put on his back, he's out like a light, and then 1, 2, 3, oh, he's done. Look at that. He wrestled for a little bit, but his gas tank, as far as endurance goes, I guess he just gave up too early. I don't know. It doesn't really make for a very compelling story if you're trying to make Aleister Black look like a lethal weapon in one sense or another. You showed that he could take a lot of punishment, but at the end of the day, he's still going to win. Without much conviction. Hello everyone, and welcome once again to another episode of the Gut Wrench Podcast. No, wait, don't touch that dial. You're not hearing the same intro again. This is episode 99 of the Gut Wrench Podcast, and not only that, but it's also the second half of the Gut Wrench Podcast. It's also the last time that I will be in double digits. After this, subsequently, I will be traveling into the 3 digits, 100, and then 101, and then 102, and then 103. We are slowly building a dynasty, not even an empire, a dynasty of nothing more than episodes, leaving a legacy behind us. And thank you all so much for joining me. This is a record-breaking episode. Episode number 99, canonically, in the history of the Gut Wrench Podcast. And I would like to thank each and every one of you for joining me here tonight. Thank you all so much for your support. And please join me for the second half of episode 99. The NXT Women's Championship, as the NXT Women's Championship was on the line, as Asuka faces off against Ember Moon. The story revolving around Ember Moon wanting revenge for a broken arm and a broken promise. And a broken pride. But Ember has yet to break anything that Asuka has. And it starts to make her upset. It starts to bother her. Because weeks leading up to her, of course, Ember having people are interviewing her, and then they're asking her, so what's your game plan with Asuka? You know, how do you plan on approaching her, whatever? And she's already lost once against Asuka. And Asuka has this huge undefeated streak going, 504 days, according to Mauro Ronaldo on commentary. It keeps reminding us that 504 days Asuka's been champion, and she's been undefeated in those 504 days. He never really tells us what the streak is, but that's not important, I guess. I guess they lost track or something. Mauro Ronaldo compared Ember Moon to Cardi B, and I put a note here that said, don't fucking do that. Don't you fucking dare. He said something like, Ember Moon is stacking cash like Cardi B stacks #1 hits or something like that. And then why do you, that's got nothing to do with this. He said something like that. I don't know. I just heard it one time. But every time that I hear the name Cardi B, I want to go on a shooting spree. How does that sound? Doesn't sound like something I should be doing at all. I don't even own a gun. But anyway, 504 days as champion, according to commentary, as I stated before. And this is her 10th match in NXT TakeOver event. But how many title defenses is that? Question mark. Once again, Mauro Ronaldo refuses to answer my question despite the fact that I've asked it multiple times. I'm sure that he wasn't expecting someone like me to actually walk down, bust down that door, and then actually say, hey, Mauro, you don't care to answer my question, do you? And throughout this entire event, he subsequently does not answer my question. Moon with a beautiful shot with the kick, only gets a near fall. Suplex from Ember Moon as she misses a baseball slide from the outside of the ring. Suplex to the outside. Ember Moon gets spiked on the steel ring ramp. A modified STO by Asuka to Moon in the center of the ring as Asuka starts to apply the pressure of the surfboard stretch maneuver. Dueling chants, and it's almost 50-50. You can almost see the crowd, or hear the crowd rather, and their excitement as they start chanting, let's go Asuka, let's go Ember, let's go Asuka, let's go Ember. Passionate crowd. And I always take my rating, or I always take the crowd into effect. Always take their excitement into effect when doing my rating. So it's very important to have the crowd behind you, or for that matter, not even in your favor. As long as they're reacting, I'm going to give you a high rating for it. Or at least that's a star, you know. At least one of my 5 stars has to do with like crowd reaction, crowd interaction. For those of you who don't know how I do my ratings system. Moon with an Enzuigiri only gets a near fall. Hits Ember with a German suplex. Well, I meant to put Asuka hits Ember, not just hits Ember with a German suplex. Ember with a German suplex pin attempt, and Asuka almost lost in quick succession. Running clothesline by Moon. Then Asuka counters into the running hip attack. Only gets a near fall. Yet another near fall, rather. Tornado suplex. Unorthodox offense by Ember Moon. And she gets the pin attempt only to get a near fall. Once again, a 2 count by Ember Moon onto Asuka. Both ladies on the ground, and the referee doesn't attempt to count like he's supposed to. Whenever there's a double down in the world of professional wrestling, the referee, much like a boxing referee, is supposed to at least start counting to 10. However, this referee refuses to do that for some reason. Not only does he not do it here, but he also, the next match as well. For some reason, these referees don't know how to count to 10. Both ladies on the ground, and the referee doesn't attempt to count. He's supposed to, but to be fair, they did get up rather quickly, but still, would it have killed you to count to 1, or at least attempt to? I gotta turn my brightness up on my phone. Dueling chants come back from this passionate, fired up crowd, chanting as Ember hits Asuka with a knee in the face, knocks her down and off her feet. So the champion is in danger here. Moon with a beautiful looking modified sit down spine buster, only to get another near fall, close 2 count. I thought for sure that was a 3. Moon hits the Eclipse, but only gets a 2 count off the stunner Eclipse, and she can't believe it. Asuka grabs Ember tight, uses her tights as leverage rather, for extra force on the pin attempt, but the referee seen her using the tights as leverage and breaks the pin. Is usually something that the referees miss, and while doing so, the performers complain about it to the officials after the match is over. But this time, for the first time that I've ever seen it, the referee actually checks to see if the wrestler has the tights of the opponent, and upon doing so, the referee finds out that yes, Asuka does have Ember's tights, and no, that's not fair. So, while Asuka's got Ember's tights, and the referee's trying to admonish her for it, basically saying, hey, you can't be grabbing people's tights like that. That's against the rules, you know that. You know, like I let you know that backstage. While he's trying to admonish her and give her the warning, all of a sudden Ember Moon comes in with a huge super kick right to the jaw of Asuka. And this crowd is going nuts. Off the super kick, she only gets a 2 count. NXT chants from a passionate crowd, and matchbox cover by Ember, and Ember only gets the 2 count. 4 out of 5 stars. How abruptly it ends, it's sort of disappointing, and how the match was booked to be. Ember looks so strong, just to have her lose and keep Asuka undefeated. I feel as though that this could have been done a lot better, performance-wise. Done a lot better. The performance was rather amazing, and it told a great match as far as the story goes, but that's an absolute disappointment of an ending, and it sucked. It sucked, man. Moon gets a standing ovation as they all chant, "Thank you, Ember," as she's the only performer in the ring. They start chanting, "Thank you, Ember," because she did good, you know, after tapping out to the Asuka lock. Nonetheless, the next match is for the NXT Championship. As champion Bobby Roode faces off against challenger Drew McIntyre. Roode really has the aspects of Ric Flair, as he's got the suits, he's got the charisma, he's got the persona. He's always shown with beautiful women or nice cars, tailored suits. As I mentioned before, he's got the suits, and really looks like he's got the money in the bag, so to speak, because, you know, to have money in a bag, I don't think that, you know, I'd at least have to count that. I just see stray money just laying in a bag. One time I seen this YouTube video, right, and this will be like off the record or whatever, despite it being on the record on my podcast or whatever. But speaking of having money in the bag or whatever. Well, it's a YouTube prank channel, or it's a YouTube prank, I guess. But anyway, this guy would find people on cell phones, and he would have one of his buddies walk by these people who happen to be in these cell phones, or talking on cell phones, and he would go ahead and like drop a briefcase beside of them. And the funny part is, he would wait like 5-10 minutes, and then afterwards it would show like a screen effect, or it would fast forward to like 10 minutes later, and then, like I said, this motherfucker just drops a briefcase. Afterwards, I guess he's assuming that the people who he's dropping the briefcase by should get like curious, what's in the briefcase. But instead, they're just like, oh, okay, well, it's clearly a briefcase here. You want to know what happens next? Is the guy comes up to said briefcase, and he says, hey man, is this your briefcase? And then they end up answering honestly. Hang on one second. We got Big Wheels over here. Hopefully he doesn't come my way. Okay, we're going to go the other way. Yeah, he's not coming my way. Anyway, he would drop a briefcase by them. Just right beside of them, right? And then he would walk by them, like I said, and then he would ask them, hey man, is this your briefcase? And they would answer honestly. They would say no. So he opens up the briefcase, and there's like stacks and stacks and stacks of money filled to the brim. And then he'll show it to them. And like I said, it's a YouTube prank. And then he'll just close the briefcase and then start to walk away with it. And then there'll be this guy, he'll be like, oh man, that was my briefcase. Oh my God, I've been looking everywhere for that. You know what I mean? Like, hey buddy, you said it wasn't your briefcase. And then the guy will slowly like bardish his hands, and then he'll say, it was a prank, it's a prank, it's a prank. Relax, man, it's a prank. So, I don't know. Whenever I said that though, that's what I thought about whenever I was putting down that it looks like that he's got the money in the bag. It shows highlights from 2009 as Drew's shaking Vince McMahon's hand, and they say they play like Vince McMahon's voice over like the edit that they have, and then they say, this man will be a world champion. Drew McIntyre, for those of you who don't know, was the quote chosen one, rather. He got to shake Vince McMahon's hand, and they practically said that he was going to be the next star of WWE. And that was in 2009, according to WWE's own records. But this pay-per-view that you're listening to me review, well, it happened in 2017. So nearly a decade later, would Drew McIntyre actually fulfill what he calls his, quote, prophecy. And they laid it on thick for the whole, hey, I'm Drew McIntyre. This is my, goal. Here's a few things that I've done over the years, and this, that, and the other thing. I mean, before this, Drew McIntyre, well, after going to WWE, after that, though, he would go on to be like the world's fittest motherfucker. I don't know how else to put it. Drew McIntyre was basically like Dwayne Johnson before Dwayne Johnson, became Dwayne Johnson. Because there's always that photo, right, of The Rock in that turtleneck. That was basically Drew McIntyre in 2009 versus what he would turn into. 6'5", 325 pounds. My God, this man turned into a star. If I was him, I would have played football. As a matter of fact, you know what? I don't even know why I said that. But, there's this subsequent fucking stigma that football players make more money than wrestlers. I doubt it. I doubt that Dan Marino made anything close to what The Rock, Dwayne Johnson made whenever he was at the peak of his popularity. Whenever both of them were at the peak of their popularity, I would love to compare salaries. Anyway, I'm getting off topic and talking about things that I wouldn't say that they don't matter, because, money is, it's got relevance. It's got its roots somewhere. But it shows highlights from 2009 as Drew McIntyre's shaking the hand of the man that they say will be the future world champion. Of course, I'm talking about McIntyre shaking Vince McMahon's hand. And then he would subsequently become a free agent and then sign back with WWE in 2017. And then once he was a free agent, he worked for Impact Wrestling for the longest time. He would go under the moniker Drew Galloway. I'm not sure why he got fired, but, after 2009, he would come back before 2017. Believe it or not, he would come back before then. Maybe in 2012. Whenever he became 1/3 of a group known as the Three-Man Band, but we really don't talk about that because it was more of a spur of the moment thing. I'm really almost certain that they didn't really have a plan for that. That wasn't something that they planned on doing. Drew McIntyre, though, is he's a doll. He's a darling. Let's just put it that way. The Scottish Psychopath has done everything that everyone in the wrestling business wants to do, and so much more. And he's a top star. Let's just put it that way. The NYPD Pipes and Drums Green Emblem Society plays Drew McIntyre's entrance music, and earlier, if it's anything to go by, they had Aleister Black had his entrance music played basically live by Code Orange Code, or whoever it was. So if that's anything to talk about, then, or if that's anything to go by, what I should say, not talk about, if that's anything to go by, then if the Pipes and Drums sung his entrance music practically until he got to the ring, and if Aleister Black had his entrance music done live as well, then we know who's going to win this match, because who won the Aleister Black Hideo Itami match? Aleister Black. They're making it extremely obvious, is what I'm trying to say, as to who they're strapping the rocket to. Well, I say that, and then you want to know what happened next? Robert Roode, otherwise known as Bobby Roode, On top of that, they talked about the journey to Drew McIntyre and how he's been on this fulfill the prophecy kick that almost took him a decade to fulfill. Well, I'll be damned. Here's where I put it in my notes, realizing that not only did McIntyre get his entrance music played to the Pipes and Drums Society of New York City Police Department cops. Not sure why they have that, but I guess each is to their own. If they want to practice, their pipes and their drums every Wednesday night because they've got nothing better to do, because they're nothing but a bunch of middle-aged men who've got, I don't know, man. I don't get society, Hang on, I gotta sneeze. Almost. All right. Shout out to Big Wills there. Anyway, I put it here that, well, I'll be damned. It's not open. I have to eat my words. I don't know why I said it's not open, but okay. I have to eat my words. Before the match even starts, Bobby Roode literally has a phantom playing his entrance music out of the ring. Suddenly, a giant LED board illuminates from the arena and has nothing but piano keys illuminating out of the giant LED board. And wouldn't you know it, they're playing the glorious, and I won't give in till there's victorious. And I will defend, and I'll do one of us. They're playing Bobby Roode's subsequent theme song from WWE, which, by the way, is not as good as his Impact Wrestling theme song, but that's we can talk about that later, I guess. But he literally has a phantom playing him to the ring. Unless there's some sort of Bluetooth that's connected to like the LED board, or for that matter, unless it's like connected to a computer that you can't see, that's like off screen or off camera somewhere. This guy's literally got a phantom playing him to the ring. NXT chants echo throughout the arena. The crowd is hyped to be here. And hopefully you're hyped to finally end the double digits to the Gut Wrench podcast. And for those of you who don't know, before I get any more further, 2 years. 2 years. Because on 10/3/2023, there's a change coming. And I hope you're all ready and willing to accept that change. NXT chants throughout the arena. The crowd is hyped to be here. Drew hits Roode with a chop so deep that he rolls out of the ring. He has to catch his breath. Winston Churchill said, "Success is not final, failure is not fatal, and courage, it is the courage that counts." Mauro Ronaldo says that as Bobby Roode tries to catch his breath on the outside of the ring. Roode he takes the time to taunt after almost getting the DDT on Drew McIntyre, telling him, "I'm in your head." And then he says, "This is my NXT," which they've been feuding about all week. Saying, "This is not your NXT. This is our NXT." Which, if you play Yu-Gi-Oh, you could, or for that matter, if you watch someone on YouTube, you could make the argument that, you know, whenever you steal someone's card in Yu-Gi-Oh, this is not your card, this is our card, you know, because you're stealing it. Nice back and forth between both men, trading blows and chops as Drew gets the best of Rude, and him looking at the lights for a brief moment. Has him looking at the lights for a brief moment. Keep in mind that Drew McIntyre is a few inches taller, and for that matter, probably, just maybe, thanks to his workout routine, probably weighs about 40, if not 50 more pounds. So Bobby Roode gives up a few inches and around 50 pounds to McIntyre. McIntyre taking control of this match with a suplex, a clothesline from the outside, knocking Bobby Roode on his ass, looking at a powerhouse with the aggressor controlling the pace of this match. A tilt-a-whirl slam, so they're on the outside of the ring right now, and this is a replay that they keep playing over and over, at least 2 or 3 times. Tilt-a-whirl slam on the ring apron by Drew McIntyre on the outside. A dueling chants are back like they were when Ember faced off against Asuka. Dueling chants are back. Dueling chants of McIntyre, Bobby Roode from a passionate crowd. Now throughout the second half of the match, it looks like as Bobby Roode is taking control of the match and Drew McIntyre has yet to find his footing and is really struggling to breathe, and he keeps holding his leg and his chest area a lot. Thanks to a neck breaker on the outside, a senton, a flurry of chops in the corner, as well as a throat chop to the outside. Roode really taking advantage of every advantage that he can muster against McIntyre. I guess I should know better taking notes than to put, oh yes, what a maneuver. It was a perfectly executed maneuver. Over 200 days as champion, according to commentary, is Bobby Roode. But as we found out, that Asuka is over 504 days as champion. Roode off the missile drop kick looks for the pin. Looks for the first pin attempt of the entire match. It only gets a 2 count. Roode yells quit at Drew. McIntyre caught Roode off the running Irish whip, and still both men are down, and the referee forgets how to count to 10. Both men are being slow to get to their feet, so this would be more than basically what I'm saying is that the referee has an ample opportunity in order to do his goddamn job and actually count to 10, seeing as though that they just got a double down. And for those of you who don't know, it's to build suspense in the match. And believe it or not, it works. Clothesline and the kip up by Drew McIntyre. 2 off the Celtic Cross slam, only gets a near fall, does McIntyre. McIntyre hanging from the Tree of Woe position thanks to Roode's footwork. McIntyre hits a monkey flip, an avalanche monkey flip rather, from the top rope, and calls for the Claymore kick off the backstabber. Roode only gets a near fall. Future Shock DDT only gets a near fall. My God, what a performance by both competitors. So, earlier I talked about how Hideo Itami got hit with like 1 black mass, and then after that he was out. this is what I would have wanted to see more of, you know, less, maybe if Aleister Black was able to maybe if Itami would have kicked out of the first Black Mass attempt, and then he would have had to pick him up and then hit him with a DDT, only to try one more time to get him to succumb to the pin, but Itami kicked out yet again, you know, and then Itami gets up and then he starts battling back just a little bit more, and then maybe 5 more minutes goes by after a huge back and forth between both Itami and Black, and then Itami gets hit with yet another Black Mass, you know, the second one, and then that would have put him down. But instead, it just took one, and that's what makes me mad. It just made Hideo Itami look really weak, and I don't like that. Despite the fact that it probably made Aleister Black look really strong, because in contrast, I could also see, hey, it only took one of those to put, you know, Hideo Itami down. Who knows what's going to happen to the next person that tries to mess with Aleister Black. While both men are down, the ref was not counting the double down. Once again, Claymore kick to Robert Roode. Claymore kick to Roode. He gets his foot on the rope before the 3 count, though. The ref shoved Drew McIntyre on the ground to stop him from going outside the ring. And this is what I don't understand. Try to stick with me here. Suspend your disbelief for 1 second. That referee that I seen looks like a toothpick compared to Drew McIntyre. So keep that in mind as I explain this. The ref shoved Drew McIntyre to the ground to stop him from going outside and giving chase outside the ring to Robert Roode. Kind of unnecessary and unbelievable. Granted, if Drew McIntyre wanted to fight back or shove the ref, he would have possibly been disqualified. So given the context, it's likely that McIntyre stopped fighting with the referee, realizing the situation. The crowd booed whenever the referee shoved Drew McIntyre, which I can see why. The situation, despite the fact that his opponent is literally outside the ring and on the ropes. But how am I supposed to believe that the small-ass referee shoves a 260-pound Scottish warrior, what a tope, over the top? It's got Mauro Ronaldo saying "Mamma Mia," so he does a over-the-top splash. Does Drew McIntyre. Drew kicks out of the spine buster. Bobby kicks out of the modified Meteora, and then Roode hits the glorious DDT. McIntyre kicks out at 2. Glasgow Kiss following, and then followed by a Claymore kick. The pin, the win. We have a new NXT champion in Drew McIntyre, and afterwards, Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly show up, the subsequent tag team that I talked about earlier, known collectively as the Red Dragons. They show up and when they do, their leader, subsequent leader, shows up too, to introduce a new era, an era of Undisputed. And that leader that leader is Adam Cole. Boom, baby. if you know, then you know. So I guess that they're setting up for Drew McIntyre to face off against Adam Cole. Bye-bye. Maybe if we watch the next NXT TakeOver event in a future broadcast, I'll be able to reference this a little bit more. Thank you all so much for joining me on this, the 99th episode of the Gut Wrench Podcast. My name is Mocha. I've been your host this evening, and thank you all so much for your support. Here's to 100 more episodes.